Well, hello there. The vote has decided it all. Today, we're covering every single video game where you can play as Iron Man. And I'm not gonna lie, the guy has a lot more games than I thought at first. We'll start all the way back in the 90s and walk through the past 3 decades, playing as Iron Man in every video game possible. And if you thought Iron Man only got popular after Robert Downey Jr. came around, you'll be surprised. Now before we start, I would very much like to ask you one thing. If you enjoy this kind of content, please consider subscribing. Nearly 80% of my viewers are not subscribed, and if you have a free second, please consider clicking on that button. Without further ado, let's start. Now, first game I could ever dig up with a playable appearance was Captain America and the Avengers, all the way back from 1991, the year Soviet Union fell. The plot goes around Red Skull assembling a band of villains to take over the world, and our gang's here to save the world. We've got Cap himself, Tony, Vision, and Hawkeye. And of course I choose the hero of today's video. Now Iron Man has a basic attack, repulsor attack, grab, and all of these can be performed in the air too. And I'm not gonna lie, out of all the beat 'em ups I've played in this video series so far, this one was the roughest to play. Every time you get hit you're basically paralyzed, and that might lead you into a paralyzing frenzy, where you basically get beat non-stop. But Tony does have an ace up his sleeve. Basic attacks are not very effective, but his flying attacks are very good, especially against bosses, and they really help escape most attacks enemies do. The game style really becomes a problem only when enemies learn to fly themselves in later levels, and that becomes a rough time, I can tell you. Overall though, the game is very for its time, let's just say that, and I would not recommend it nowadays, but it may be a nice dive into the past, like a nostalgia trip of some sort, so you could have some fun if you find an arcade machine with it or something. Next up we've got a very bizarre title that I had no idea existed honestly. Iron Man X Man-O-War in Heavy Metal? The game is a crossover between Marvel Comics Iron Man and Valiant Comics X-O Man of War, a two-part crossover comics published alongside the game, released 5 years after the last game. And I gotta be honest, this is legit difficult to play. You can jump and attack, yeah, but all enemies take 5 or more hits to go down, the hitbox is horrible, and hits don't register up close. Every hobo on the street can completely humiliate you, and overall, I could not play this for long. I also did not hear any metal music in the background. Definitely cannot recommend. Next up we've got Marvel Superheroes in War of Gems, and things are a bit better here. This is a platformer beat 'em up where you go through 5 levels beating evil copies of your comrades, and it's a bit of a downgrade from the first game as well. All we have is a single ground combo and a single aerial combo, and that's about it. No repulsor attacks, really. The game feels easier, the animations are smoother, and it's more rewarding, I have to say, but once again very basic and it's not worth your time. The first game we've ever played already had more attacks than this, come on. And right after that, we already have our classic genre coming back. Fighting games, yay! And we've got a bunch here, alright. Starting with the classics, we have Marvel Superheroes Infinity Saga, where it all started for our guys. Moving into the classics of Marvel vs. Capcom, and then the more modern third game and the Infinite game. And in a very reverse fashion as opposed to Hulk, Iron Man feels very same in all of them. In the older games he's faster but clunkier, feels a bit awkward to control unlike Hulk or Wolverine, while in the newer ones he kinda feels the same. Although I did enjoy playing as him here a bit more, as I was able to pull off a lot more decent combos sometimes, I still don't enjoy his playstyle here. I would rather pick Hulk or Iron Fist, not gonna lie. Overall, if you're a fan, definitely worth checking out, but if not, I'm not a big fan of fighting genre either. Next up, we're entering early 2000s era, so let's see what Iron Man's been up to right before his movie. First up, we have Invincible Iron Man for Game Boy Advanced, and this is a slightly different direction from a typical beat 'em up. This game is a platformer, but is much faster scale. Somewhat of a run and gun game is what you can call it, I suppose. The game is a plot of someone breaking into Iron Man's tower and stealing all of his stuff, so we must track them down and make them pay. The game is focused on fast pace, as you have both health scale and energy scale, and you need to find power-ups and restore them as you go through levels. In terms of abilities, it's very basic, as you can run, jump, and shoot. Not much, honestly, but the gameplay loop gets somewhat addicting, as it actually brings challenge and does not slow down like all other platformers we played so far. So I sorta enjoyed it. Can't say I'd recommend it, but if you're offline in the middle of the woods and you find an old GBA with this game on, you might have some fun. Moving on, we have a game I've not touched in a while. Marvel Nemesis, an EA Marvel collab that ended as fast as it started. One of the first Marvel games I've played as a kid actually, and had some moments with it. I mean, the game is Daredevil after all, so I have to give it some props. Iron Man has a basic punch, basic repulsor shot, and a grab attack. He also has a neat shield that can deflect. Overall, it's an alright fighting experience for the time, I'd say, but nothing too special. Now I do have to appreciate it having a story mode, aka early Injustice style, but the controls have always felt awkward to me and a bit wacky. I could never get a hold of my character properly, and that's why I could never really recommend this game much. It's definitely an interesting piece of history though, let me tell you that. And now, before we dive into the main dishes, I have to mention that at this time, Tony also made a small cameo in the Tony Hawk game, and it was an unlockable skin. Nothing special, but I loved Tony Hawk when I was a kid, so I decided to bring this up. It's kinda funny. And look at that, the year on the calendar is 2008. And that means it's time for us to go into the first Iron Man movie video game tie-in, based on the movie that started it all. And you know what? I'm kinda having fun playing this. The game released on multiple platforms, with DS being the smallest brother, PS2 and PSP receiving meh uncommon versions, and the bigger consoles at the time, PS3 and Xbox 360, getting the mythical versions. I personally only played the PS2 versions as a kid, but for this video, I dove into the bigger ones for the first time and played the PS3, and I'm kinda loving it. The game follows the exact same plot as the movie, but every enemy on each movie location is times 100. This was the first time we have a full Iron Man flight simulator with both ground and aerial combat, having cool moves like chest repulsor, auto-locking rockets, hand repulsors, etc. The game gives you an upgrade screen in between each level, and you can upgrade your armor and give it various buffs too. Overall, for a movie tie-in game, I loved this as a kid. And right now, I cannot say I hate it. I love the feeling of Iron Man as barrages of rockets fly my way, and I dodge them and shoot them back and destroy stuff and woohoo. But the game does have some problems, don't get me wrong. It is pretty short, just like most movie tie-in games. The flying is very janky and takes time to get used to and master. The boss variety goes as far as, oh look, tank boss. Oh look, helicopter boss. Oh look, a bigger tank boss. The camera angles also get very annoying, and it's easy to lose yourself in the battlefield. And overall, the game feels a bit undercooked, for sure, but I still enjoyed it. If you're a fan of the first movie and have a PS3 or Xbox 360 laying around, you might have yourself a good time. I know I have. Following up a couple of years later, we of course get a sequel, and things are surprisingly better. We now have two main characters, both having entirely different weapons and feeling unique. A much better hand-to-hand that has a parry system implemented, mind you. Iron Man himself feels heavier, smoother, and overall better to control with more fun weapons in hand at all times that you can switch with a single button. The plot itself does not copy the movie entirely this time anymore either, and instead expands on it a lot, focusing a lot more on Rock's and technology building a giant army of robots. S.H.I.E.L.D. is now more involved as well and lends Tony troops to fight those robots, and overall it's just more interesting to follow. After playing this for a while just now, I'll take my words back on the first game. This one is much better, and if you have to choose, the sequel is a go-to for an Iron Man game at the time. They also skipped the previous console generation completely and there is no PS2 version, but for some reason we have a DS and PSP versions. I don't know why. They were the ones I played as a kid and I was not impressed, I'm not gonna lie. So if you're gonna go for it, I can recommend the PS3 and Xbox 360 titles as legit fun Iron Man games. Now when it comes to the third movie, if you were expecting an even bigger banger like me, sadly, it did not happen. The trend on movie adaptation games started dying down and all we got for a third movie was a mobile game in a runner style, aka Subway Surfer, but I'm not gonna lie, this was disappointing at the time. I made 1 to 2 runs and forgot about the game completely. I mean, I already had a runner at the time and it was honestly much better. The game is already off the store officially, so getting it now is a little bit of a pain as well, so I cannot recommend this. There was one more game called Iron Man Aerial Assault released a few years earlier in mobile too, with a much worse graphics and overall downgrade. And I quite honestly almost forgot this game existed because of how much I did not care about it. But I have to mention it too. And with that, we're done with Iron Man standalone games for a very long time now. It's time to dive into the team games. First up, we of course have Marvel Ultimate oh wait, nope, almost messed that up. We're going too far. Tony actually first appeared in X-Men Legends 2 as a secret unlockable character to assist the mutants in defeating Apocalypse, and he was a big surprise for me when beating the game at the time. If you find every secret Iron Beacon throughout the game, by the end, you rescue Tony and he's a blast to play. He's a controller character mixed between Storm and Rogue, and he has a bunch of repulsor and radioactive moves which I love. Moving on, we of course have Marvel Ultimate Alliance, a game I mentioned in every video so far, and Iron Man does not disappoint here too. The game brings to life the entire Stark Tower straight from comics, which we can use as a base. Tony himself though, I'm not gonna lie, is modded heavily by me because of how many times I beat the vanilla game, and I think I achieved perfection here. Yes, we have some fresh new skins from MCU and comics, and yes, we have amazing new skills combined with vanilla skills too, combining repulsor attacks, lasers, rockets, even a freaking satellite attack as an ult. But the magnum opus that can be achieved here is the fact that Tony has a skill that lets him change his armor mid-combat depending on special immunities he will need. Because of that alone, I kept Iron Man on my team for a big chunk of the game. It's absolutely awesome. One day I'll cover how much of a great game this can be with mods. One day. Moving on to the second game, I have not modded it much in the vanilla experience as fine as it is. The game is all about Civil War arc and comics, and Tony understandably plays a huge role here. We have improved graphics and a widely reduced skill set, but if you're a fan of the first game, it's still recommended playing the second one I feel. And for the third, really the same as it always was. If you have a Switch, absolutely top pick. Iron Man is a hybrid glass cannon that can do quite well against most things, and I had a lot of fun here with him too. Moving on, another returning game is going to be Marvel Heroes Omega, and once again, if you enjoy Diablo-style gameplay, Iron Man here is in full glory, combining laser, repulsor, and heavy rocket attacks. So if you feel like grinding as Iron Man against mobs and mid-maxing a build in a Diablo-style game is for you, you should try it. The game once again has a full story and is available for absolutely free with no microtransactions right now. Now a couple of other smaller mentions. First up, we have Marvel Superhero Squad, a game for bebes with emotes and short beat 'em up levels you can play. Not my cup of tea and I never really enjoyed it. Next up, Lego games, where Tony has a gigantic amount of armors in the span of 3 games, ranging from super speed flash style armor to gigantic Hulkbuster armors, back to smaller but more interesting armors. This guy has got the biggest customization out of any LEGO character ever, so if you play LEGO games, this will be a blast. Once again, not particularly my cup of tea either. Next up we have another no-name, Marvel's Avengers, Battle for Earth, and I'll be completely honest, I forgot this game ever existed until today. And for a good reason. This is a Kinect and Wii U exclusive I played more than a decade ago, where they make you do a fighting style game with your hands motions. And I could never play Kinect for too long because it never registered my movements correctly. If you want a fighting game as Iron Man, go ahead and play Marvel vs. Capcom instead. And finally, we have the game I forget about on and off, but this time I decided to remember about it. Disney Infinity Series, a figure collecting video game where you can buy physical playsets and then play with them in the game. And quite honestly, I praise the way they brought Iron Fist on the screen, as in my opinion it was legit badass portrayal. Iron Man is just so-so. He's a fun addition with all of his classic moves like repulsors and explosive rockets, but overall I cannot recommend yet another game made for younger players, especially if it's one that makes you go order physical DLCs that costs quite a bit of money, while most games here now are either free or can be bought on Steam sale for $5. But that's just my opinion. Whew, okay. I know I rushed through the last few games, but that was for one reason. To get to better games I actually want to recommend. And we would have gotten to them by now, but... Of course, almost forgot. We have mobile games first. The ones that are not shut down yet, that is. First up we have Contest of Champions, with Tony having multiple variants including his classic Mark III, Mark 50 from Infinity War, Superior Iron Man, and a Hulkbuster armor, all 4 of which can actually be decent and do well in the game right now. A cool standout for me personally is Infamous Iron Man, who is actually Victor Von Doom using his own modified Iron Man armor, which is honestly badass, and I absolutely love that run in comics. Any chance I get to play as Doom, I'll take it. Moving on, we have a Marvel Future Fight game with a lot more Iron Man available in all colors and shapes, starting with the classics, then moving up to the movies, and then even beyond that. Tony in here is a gigantic AoE blaster and is all about splashing out a big repulsor beam that absolutely wipes all enemies off the map. Another mobile game is Strike Force, and Tony comes in his classic version, Infinity War, and zombie versions for some reason. He is a high damage champ with somewhat low health and can be a fun addition to your average teams. Finally, we have the most recent mobile game so far, Marvel Mystic Mayhem, where Tony is a physical damage striker with a lot of nice mobility on the field, being able to dash and deal damage in straight lines, which is useful for damaging multiple opponents in a row. I made a review of this game last week if you want to check it out by the way. And that's it for mobile. Now let's finally move to the latest and freshest Iron Man games we have today. First up, Midnight Suns, a game I've glazed a lot during my Hulk video, and for a good reason. This game absolutely slaps, and I enjoyed it a lot back on release. Of course, Tony Stark is here too. Iron Man is an absolute jack of all trades in this video game, and his small bits of selfishness show through the game too, as you cannot reroll his cards. Instead, he improves them every time you try to reroll, making them stronger every time. And that's a neat feature. Tony is able to mark his enemies and chain attacks to large groups, making him very useful nearly in any scenario of the game. And don't even get me started on his ult. Amazing. Overall, he's one of the more unique and fun characters in the entire game, and if you haven't played this yet, I once again strongly urge you to give it a try. It's worth it. Moving on, we have the failed live service game Marvel's Avengers, and despite its flaws, I hold a strong belief that this may be the best Iron Man game we have at this time. Let me explain. The game took what we had back in 2010 with the Iron Man 2 video game and polished it beautifully. The flight controls are now superb, and what they always should have been. We have a variety of attacks and chaining combos that make the combat feel satisfying. The hand-to-hand combos feel awesome too and have some amazing finishes that feel straight up from the movies. If only this game just added some more content, some more villains, bosses, factions, I don't know. The gameplay is once again top notch, but that cannot really save the game from mindless repetitiveness, unfortunately. Nevertheless, I've had my fun as Iron Man here quite a bit, and you might too if you haven't yet. Moving on, a couple of additional mentions. First up, we have Marvel Rivals. Iron Man is a glass cannon in the sky, and personally, my favorite flying character in the whole game, with an ult that can stop healer ults and kill tanks easily. He has some of the highest single target damage output in the game in my opinion, and overall I love him. I especially love his superior Iron Man skin and hope that there is more like this in the future. Another game I want to mention is, yes, Fortnite. I did not forget you this time, buddy. We have a lot of different Iron Man skins here, and at some point during a Marvel event we could actually get Iron Man's weapons and fly around shooting bad guys, just like in Iron Man video games, which is kinda cool. Sadly, it's not in the game right now. And with that, we're flying into the last Iron Man game for today, and that will be Iron Man VR. And genuinely, I think this is a good VR video game. You do absolutely feel like an Iron Man here, with swift movements, intuitive controls, being able to easily maneuver the airspace and taking out your enemies with precise shots. Overall, it's good. Is it good enough to buy VR for? Absolutely not. The game is short, and quite honestly, any VR game I start playing gets old for me in 1 to 2 evenings at max. I mainly got my VR for the latest Batman game, and even then, I have not played it as much. If you have a VR though, I'd say get it on sale. It's a decent experience. And just like that, we're done with all Iron Man video games. Let's go ahead and go through my recommendations from the very beginning. First of all, we have the Marvel vs. Capcom series for fans of fighting genre. Then, we have second Iron Man 2 movie tie-in for PS3 and Xbox 360. Moving on, I can also confidently recommend the entire Marvel Ultimate Alliance series. The first one with mods especially. It's a big blast to play. Next up will be a very strong recommendation for Marvel Midnight Suns, and a very meh-ish semi-recommendation for Marvel's Avengers. Finally, you can also splash some Iron Man on top of yourself with VR and Marvel Rivals. And that's about it. If you enjoyed the video, I'd once again really appreciate your like and subscription. Next video I plan to dive back into my roots, the Marvel street level roots in particular, and you'll see what I mean. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye bye.